Welcome to the Finance Podcast. The topic of this episode, Agentic and Generative AI Workflows by Sina Wulfmeier and Luca Bertelli by Unique.
Good morning, everybody. I hope you hear me well. Just a short side note, there was a switch of topics. So previously it was ESG announced, but due to current developments, we would like to present you today Agentic AI workflows and Gen AI workflows. So what you see today is a use case that we presented at the 6 at Swiss Exchange. It's one of the first. It's already also deployed. So my name is Sina Wulfmeier. I'm Chief Data Officer Unique, and today with me is Luca Bertelli.
Nice meeting you.
So today we want to give you a short introduction into what Gen AI is doing in the financial services industry. And for those of you who have not heard about Unique, we're the market leader for Gen AI and agentic solutions in financial services in Switzerland, but we also won banks and insurances, hedge funds globally. So we also have first clients now in New York, and we want to show you today a bit the latest developments. So we also brought you a demo, which is Luca is running, which we want to show today. So why do we see such a huge adoption of AI in financial services? And I don't know for which companies you work for and how the adoption is, but as you can see here from a study, it's from Microsoft. Financial services is the second largest user of Gen AI currently. So here it's measured in token, in Azure consumption costs, but I think this gives you a good idea why financial services. Yeah, next. So why do we see a lot of AI happening in financial services? I think one of the reasons is that in financial services we have a lot of data. We have a lot of structured data in CRMs, payments, and so on, but we also have a lot of unstructured data, for example, client conversations. This type of data we could not use so far, or not to the extent we want to. And so with AI, we have now the opportunity to use a vast amount of data in financial services. I think the challenges that we're seeing now with AI flooding financial services, especially banks, is that clients, especially end clients, they become more knowledgeable. So, one example is if a client wants to invest in, utility shares in Vietnam, they usually go to ChatGPT and do their own research first before they go to an advisor. And I think this is a challenge now for relationship managers because they kind of need to be upskilled to be on par with the end users. Then the second one is that we have huge costs of compliance. I worked in Credit Suisse for about 10 years, and over time, costs and everything that you had to do around compliance just increased. And here is a study from the UK that by 33% compliance cost increased. And with the help of AI, we can better document client conversations, we can better extract certain information. So I think we really have a unique chance at the moment to use AI, to fulfill this compliance task. And then the third challenge is probably not so relevant for this crowd here, but then for HWZ, building talents, people who know AI, but people who also know financial services is very important. I also teach at HWZ. If you haven't signed up, there are great courses. So there's AI in finance course, AI in innovation. Reno is here in the back who's leading the classes. So if you're interested in upskilling, please sign up and come to one of the classes. Maybe short introduction to what Unique is. You see on our t-shirt, we're called Unique AI. We are a startup out here of Switzerland. So our headquarters is in Zurich, and we have about 40 financial services clients. So some of our clients are also here, like Partners Group, Pictet, SIX, so the Swiss Financial Exchange is also one of our clients. We managed within the last 3 years to really win big names, as you can see here on the screen. When it comes to user numbers, we have about 30,000 active users. So you can imagine a user gets an access, but we also measure if the user is active. So it's not enough to just sign up, but you need to use it actively on a daily or weekly basis. We recently closed, and we're very proud, a 35 million funding round here in Switzerland, which is, I mean, you cannot compare to US standards, but for Switzerland, this was really remarkable, and we are proud that we achieved this, and now we can further grow. Our company is at the moment about 70, so 70 employees, and we want to double in the next 12 months. Yeah, next, please. Thank you. And maybe before Luca shows a short demo, I want to show you a bit, and this is from a McKinsey study, what is very interesting in terms of where are we evolving. So I think in 2022, when ChatGPT came out, we talked about AI support, right? It was like summarizing emails, finding information, and so on. So it was more the simple use cases, and I would say till date, we're still implement these more simple use cases. So also cantonal banks here in Switzerland are our clients, and they usually want a simpler use case like finding internal information. So you can connect all your SharePoints, Teams, emails, and then you can search for information. So for example, if you want to search for a certain onboarding process, let's say for a Czech client, and you don't know how does the onboarding process look like, you can type into a chat and say like, what's the onboarding process for a Czech client? So I think on the left side, this was more 2022, 2023. And now we kind of moved into the middle bubble, as you can see. We have now huge AI adoption, and we're also moving into this, what we call agentic AI. I don't know, has somebody heard this term already, or? Okay. So agents are basically different large language models working together. So it's not only like a ChatGPT, but it's various large language models speaking to each other, one making, for example, the planning, the other the reasoning, and so on. Also, when we talk about agentic AI, it's about whole workflow automation. So it's not only summarizing an email, but finding the information, summarizing the information, sending the email. And Luca will show you also a demo of how an agent could work. As you can see here from the bubble, I think we're here in the middle, and we're really moving towards an AI excellence, AI bank. So our vision is really that the whole bank is empowered with AI. And it's not just like this little support tool, but it's really the go-to place. I mean, we can discuss if this will happen and when it will happen. I think we will stay a while now in this middle area, because with agents, we also have the challenge of autonomous decision making, right? If you connect different large language models, they can independently decide. And I think it's not something we want in financial services, that you have too much or you lose too much control, right? You still need fixed processes, you still need control points. The AI cannot decide yet. Okay, maybe next. Do you want to say it? Okay. Here you see one of our case studies, which is publicly available from Pictet. So this is Pictet wealth managers in Geneva. They have been one of our first clients, starting the journey in 2022. And as you can see, we needed like 5 months from the first contact to the launch. And currently we have roughly 6,000 users live. And I think this gives you this is a good example to show that really wealth management with high net worth individuals is also prone to AI. Because sometimes, you know, people reach out to us saying, oh, this is more for private banking, this is more for affluent clients, not something for like large wealthy clients, but I think Pictet really shows that this can also be used. Time savings, I mean, you see here it's around 500 hours per year that's saved, and if you do the math, it's for every relationship manager currently, they save about 2 hours per week currently with our tools. Having said that, Pictet has at the moment, I think 8 or 10 use cases deployed and live in production, and they plan up to 90 use cases, 90, so 90 use cases to be deployed. I mean, you can do the math then how much time saving will come. So I think we're still in the beginning, but I think it's interesting times to see how AI can support relationship managers. Maybe a side story, when we started with Pictet, the first use case we implemented was a lunch module generator. So it was more something funny that we did in terms of, you know, in Geneva they have very different mensa or cafeterias, and people didn't know where there's rice, for example, or noodles, and you could type in. And it started like this in a more funny way, but today we have like an investment research assistant helping relationship managers, for example, to draft investment proposals. what I'm trying to say is that you don't have to start with critical data or with client identifying data, but you can start with simple processes and then learn over time. Unique has been with Pictet for about 3.5 years now, so we started really the journey with them and still growing with them. And I think it's really a good success story also in wealth management to show how much potential there is for AI in this space.
Good. So, little demo.
Are there any questions so far? I don't know if... Otherwise, you ask at the end, huh? Okay.
Little demo. So, I'm working for the Agentic bank, and I got pinged by my agent, who told me that actually I should reconnect with my customer, Manuel Grenacher.
You cannot see yet.
Wait.
Maybe in the meantime I can take over. I mean, what we want to show you today is a project that we have launched with SIX, so the Swiss exchange, where we can also use real-time data from SIX to be integrated in a ChatGPT-like functionality. This is also very new. I haven't seen this so far. So if you do research, for example, for your client, you can also integrate like real-time data from SIX. So I think this we showed this on Monday on the SIX exchange, and I'm happy, Luca. I think if it works now, then let's run it, huh?
Perfect. So thanks a lot. So I'm advisor. I work for Agentic Bank. We have a number of agents helping us in our daily work. And in particular, this investment insight, who just tell me, hey, it would be time to reconnect with my customer, Manuel Grenacher. And first of all, I haven't seen him for a while, so I just would like to get an overview of my customer again. So I could type in. I save the prompt to be faster, and practically the agent now is collecting data coming from insights, so data from the bank, as well as data which are available in the news, and it's just generating me an output to really present what is my customer situation. So I can see I interacted 2 times, well, one recently actually, didn't remember, and we talked about Oklo stocks. So, and the latest news, I see that actually my agent is telling me, hey, Manuel Grenacher just closed the Series A rounding fund and his portfolio distribution, so that I have a full view. Asset classes in a tabular form, I get it. Okay. Now, I recall that he just talked about Oklo, and I don't really know what is this company about, so I just want to get more information. So I'm going to ask and see how, based on the earning calls, as we have access to earning calls from a company called Quarter, and see what actually this company is about and what is the performance of this company. So the agent is getting the data in the back, taking all the data, and actually, again, summarizing me the key insights from this company. They have been working in advanced nuclear technology. I can see also the pros and cons that I'm interested about. So they're innovative. They're working on strategic partnership. They have some operational risks related to expansion. Okay. Now, of course, I need to prepare myself for discussing that with Manuel. So I want to get also a view on our own view. What is our investment research department saying? So I'm again asking the more information about Oklo, and so the agent is going on the stock universe, is going on the investment research that is produced by our investment department. He's going maybe also to the investment research that we buy and make available to us as relationship manager. He's just pulling the data, summarizing the data, and giving me. So internally, stating, well, it's actually old, so no buy, an overweight from a portfolio distribution perspective. I also get actually the latest data from SIX. so that I can really see live the charts, and I see that actually there is a volatility over the last 30 days, which is very high, 127. Do I want to recommend that to my client? I don't know. Is there alternatives?
I just wanted to say, so here you really see how 6 data is integrated. So those of you who are technically savvy, it's integrated with an API. So you do an API call where you really get the latest information. And I think this is something which is we haven't seen in this ChatGPT-like tools so far. So our team managed to integrate this, and I think this is very powerful if you also have the current data, especially, for example, if you think there is something happening in the market. Let's say when the DeepSeek model came out, for example, and NVIDIA stock dropped, this is something you would like to see then in here, right? You don't want old information from ChatGPT that's like a year old, but you really want to see this current information. And I think it's very nice now that you have the 6 real-time data, and you can imagine and kind of, if you think forward, you can integrate all types of data sources with real-time data integration. Also Bloomberg, for example, if you're interested more in news. But I think this is the revolutionary part here in this agent. Sorry, Luca, for jumping in.
No problem. So now I'm interested to see maybe if there are funds which may help to actually still satisfy my client need, but propose him alternative. So I'll check in our investment universe if there is any funds that would include Oklo, and that I understand also how the distribution of the fund is. So again, I'm asking my agent to pull the data, get the data, and give me more insight so that I can better understand and I can better advise my customer. It does in the back an agentic research, so practically it takes my prompt, so-called prompt, but what it does is actually break down the prompt and try to, based on the context, to actually extend the research to really pull the right information and extensive data that I can be better prepared. In that case, it found that there is this Van Eck uranium nuclear ETF with a percentage of 6.3 of net assets. Again, I get the data, I get a comparison with Oklo, so live data were pulled, as you see, 3rd of April, 10:50, so just pulled live, and I can see both the fund and the Oklo chart. I see that the volatility is actually lower compared to my fund, compared to Oklo, which is great. I feel more confident that actually I could propose this fund instead of proposing Oklo itself and still meet my customer's requirement. Last but not least, I want to prepare an investment pitch because I don't want to do copy-paste and just send a few bullets in an email, but I would prefer to make him a proposal that is a bit nicely done. So practically, I let my agent prepare me a document which summarizes this view that we have been discussing about, and that I can send directly to my customer. I can get it. So here is the executive summary, and I see it's talk about stocks recommendation. It shows the conclusion of the analysis. So it says, hey, not be the best standalone investment, but the Van Eck uranium nuclear ETF is actually a good alternative, and you should buy it. Last but not least, I could of course ask my AI to actually prepare an email so that I'm all ready to go, copy paste or even generate it, and I'm ready to send it to my customer and try to generate my meeting. So here it is, short email which just summarize the key points that I want to place to my customer. Can take it, modify it, send it, and I'm ready to go to my customer. So that was about Agentic financial services. We just wanted to give you a short overview. We have other use cases. We work also on KYC because we do believe that actually KYC, which is today very compliance-driven, should be actually a business proposal, should be helping the RMs and the advisors to actually generate business, because data are key. For example, all our conversation all the emails, the documents that the customer sent are key, and there are a lot of insights which are probably today mostly not exploited. And this is where agents such as these can actually grab the data and proactively propose next steps or propose activities to the advisor to actually be more efficient and therefore grow business.
Thanks, Luca. I think what you nicely seen here also is that the integration of different data sources, right? You have internal data sources like CRMs or client conversations, also maybe risk appetite. I mean, you can be free in terms of what you want to integrate. Then you also have the live data, for example, from SIX or from Quarter, the earnings calls from Quarter, that can be integrated, but you can also integrate web search. And I think this is very powerful because you can customize and tailor which type of data sources is relevant for which type of use case. So a lot of our clients also, when they do web search, they don't go and search the whole web, but they have preferred pages like, I don't know, Bloomberg, Wall Street Journal, trusted data sources, which they like to be in scope. So this is not like that the agent goes out in the whole web and maybe collects also fake news, but you can also define trusted data sources. As you can see, or as you have seen, I mean, this is an agentic workflow now, but you can also take parts of it, right? You can also say, well, I'm just interested in leveraging my house view. We can also just extract. So this has combined different work steps now, but I think we can also just do smaller parts of it. From a technical point of view, there's a lot of engineering behind in rightly connecting the data sources. And I think maybe, Luca, you can quickly show also the hallucination check or where we see the sources, maybe a bit up. Or, yeah. I saw it somewhere. Yeah. No, we haven't. No. Okay. But I think you can always see the sources, right, where the information comes from. You can click on the sources, or here are the two references, and then you can click on the reference to see also where the information comes from. I think this is very important when working with Gen AI. Those of you who are familiar, AI hallucinates, so sometimes they make up information, and I think this is not what we want to have in financial services. So here, really, it's very important that you see which sources have been used, and you can qualify these resources and look at it. So here, for example, you see there was like 1 reference, 2 reference, 7 references, 8. So maybe quickly click on the references, and then you see here, you can see, for example, there was a phone call with Manuel, which was in February, the other one was in March. You see Netzwoche, Inside IT was included as references, but this really also shows you what type of data is behind, and you can check it. For us, this is very important because we need to make sure that the advisor gets the right and factually correct information, and this is how it happens from a technical viewpoint. Are there any questions so far? Otherwise, we'll do a short wrap-up. So now what I want to quickly share with you, since we have been together deploying use cases for about 3 years, what we learned. And I think one problem with Gen AI is that everybody comes out and says now, hey, I want to do something with AI. But I think it's the wrong approach. The right approach is identify your problem first, right? Look at your business. I mean, if a lot of information is missed or your compliance is not complete, then this is the problem. And then to some of these problems, AI is the response, but not to everything. I mean, a well-crafted Excel sheet, for example, can also be a good solution. The problem with AI is what most people underestimate. It's very complex. I mean, if you integrate all these data sources, and whoever has done an IT project knows, like, integration is key. And this integration is very complex with AI. Also, not forget about cost. I mean, you need to run these large language models. And I mean, if you use a big language model for simple tasks like summarizing an email, that's just a bit too much and very expensive in the long run if you think about scaling it to your whole organization. Then the next learning that we learned is also that data strategy, and I've worked in Credit Suisse in data strategy for many years, is key. Right? People or banks or financial services who have good data, good metadata, they profit now much more from AI than those who have a lot of unstructured data. You still need metadata to generate some of the answers. So one example is that for Pick Day, we also implemented like a vacation checker. So you could say, like, what is my vacation, or what are my vacation days? The question itself is very simple, but behind it's very complicated because the system needs to know I mean, in which canton do you work? In which organization? Are you in the Swiss AG or are you in UK? Maybe you have kids, you have additional. What's your work contract? Do you work 80, 100%? So to get a good and the right answer to what is my vacation, you need a lot of metadata behind. And so this we really learned. I mean, if you have an awesome model, but messy data, this doesn't work. So somehow we still need to go back to the old days and clean up our data, put it in nice structure. And I think going forward, also with AI, we need to think differently how we document things. Also, for example, if you think we connect a lot of policies to our tool, and I mean, if you have 15 different versions for a policy, the tool needs to know always take the latest policy. And you know, some companies, they take numbers, so it's policy number 1, version 1, number 2, 3. Others take dates, others delete old ones. So it's really about for the AI to understand what's the latest policy. But this is very important that you focus on data. Then the next learning, and I think we specialize now in this working with Swiss financial services, is AI governance. So you need governance structures, you need a risk management process, you need control owners, you need IT security, you need data protection. I mean, kind of with every other technology, you need all this in place. What becomes more difficult now with AI is that the user, with using prompts, can tweak the model, right? So you also need controls at the user or end user level. This makes it very challenging. And those of you who have followed the topic a bit, FINMA released a new, I think, a guiding directive. So it's not binding, but it's an information letter in December on the Gen AI usage for financial services. It's actually very interesting, so have a look at it. But they give you some guidelines how to implement this whole AI governance topic. I think maybe to quickly back, the underlying topic is also that AI doesn't learn or improve itself, right? If you I mean, we humans, we realize if we make a mistake, I need to do it differently next time, but AI doesn't learn that. So we need to set guardrails so that AI behaves in a certain corridor that we define. Then what we also see, I mean, we need AI talent. So we need people who are technically savvy, but who also know the industry and have subject matter expert knowledge. I mean, we hired, for example, physics or engineers with an engineering background, but who have not knowledge in the banking, insurance, private equity domain. It's very hard to graft a use case and implement the use case if you don't know the industry. So it's really important that also people who are currently in the industry, who are tech savvy, go maybe to Harvard set, do a class to understand a bit the technicalities behind large language models, because I think it needs both. It needs the technical expertise, but it also needs the domain knowledge, and this needs to be brought together. And I think for people ask a lot, will AI replace all of us? I don't think so. I think Luca also not. We have a lot of work to do. And I think, but what we see is that humans or people who use AI, they're just much faster, more efficient. They have more time for value-creating tasks. For example, meeting clients, right? It's not so bad about you need to take notes and make documentation, but this will free up time. You can focus on your client, for example. Or I think some of our relationship managers also use Gen AI tools to prepare for the next meeting, right? If they forgot, for example, what's the hobby of my client, you can quickly type in, give me a short summary of the personal situation of my client. You show up in the meeting, you say, hey, nice meeting you, how is your kids? I remember, you have 2 children, and it's a much better discussion having prepared or come prepared to a meeting. And I think that's the power of AI, right? That you can use, maybe it's hidden, but I think it's a good example. And then the last point is also, a lot of people think AI is magic, right? You plug it in and it does all the magic. And as we have implemented now for 3 years these use cases, it's hard work. I mean, you really need to sit down, you need to understand which data sources, you need to understand the prompts, you need to understand the different models, you need to understand the business. I mean, we don't want to digitize existing processes, right? We want to make them faster, more innovative, but not just existing processes digitize. And it's a very tough job, let's put it like that, to also find the right setup. maybe one example here is when you started with Unique, we had GPT-3 as the first model from OpenAI, so it runs in Microsoft here in Switzerland. But then we wanted to upgrade our clients to GPT-4. We thought we'd do something good to our clients because it's faster, more powerful. But then we realized, for example, that the prompts don't work anymore. So we had well-crafted prompts for GPT-3, but they didn't work with GPT-4. And I think it's a good example to show how complicated it is. So this is also why we help to set up a use case. The use case is crafted and very targeted to your need. But then if you change it, right, it's not so easy and not so trivial. And we also advise on this, how to best, for example, switch models or switch prompts. Yeah, maybe then that's the last slide. Good. I think one more, then you're also on. So this is the end of the presentation. I think we're here. If you have any questions, check out Unique. Those of you who've worked with us, talk to each other. So you also have an objective opinion. And thanks, Luca, for joining me today.
Thank you, Sina.
We're here if any questions. Thank you.
Finally, the mandatory risk warning. The content of this episode is for general information only and is not a recommendation to buy or sell any financial products. All information is supplied without guarantee, and this is not an investment advisory.